Do you really believe you're in control of your life? You wake up every morning, breathe, make plans, follow routines, make decisions, and everything seems to be under your command. But deep down, something else quietly pulls the strings, a silent, almost invisible force that moves you without permission. That force is desire. I'm not talking about the sacred kind, the desire that fuels creation, love, truth, and growth. I'm talking about the fragmented one, the kind that's been tamed, conditioned and shaped to serve consumption, distraction, and self-forgetting. The kind of desire you've learned to call pleasure. But that's really the most subtle form of imprisonment. How many times have you promised yourself that today would be different? That you wouldn't waste time, that you'd stay focused, that you'd finally get your life back on track? And yet, all it takes is one click, one notification, one image on a screen. And suddenly, your purpose collapses. You didn't fail. Because you lacked willpower. You failed because you lacked clarity. The truth is harsh. Your mind has been sexualized, trained, and conditioned for years to chase instant dopamine. You've learned to associate pleasure with nudity, visual stimulation, and quick excitement. And somewhere along the way, you confused freedom with the prison of consumption. With every swipe, every scroll, you're not just looking for relief. You're training your brain to escape the present moment. You drift away from awareness. You weaken your focus, your essence, your life force. And maybe, like I once did, you've realized this far too late. I too got lost in subtle distractions, convinced I could control them, until they controlled me. I lost great opportunities because of brief moments of pleasure. I watched my clarity dissolve in the cold glow of a screen. I saw my purpose drown in the shallow waters of instant gratification. But it was only through the pain of that realization that something changed. It was in the abyss of my own mind that I found a point of return. There, I discovered a truth that reshaped everything. If the mind can be trained for slavery, it can also be reprogrammed for freedom. If it can be conditioned to obey blind desire, it can be re-educated for conscious mastery. And that's what I want to share with you here. This isn't about tricks or productivity hacks. It's about inner transformation. Because mastering your mind doesn't mean suppressing desire. It means transmuting it. It means placing the king back on his throne, turning impulse into intention, chaos into presence, reaction into silent power. True strength isn't about blind resistance. It's about understanding what governs you. Because what you don't understand controls you. And what you illuminate becomes part of you. Right now, a war is being fought inside you. On one side, the conditioned mind, programmed to react, consume, and chase fleeting pleasure. On the other, the awakened consciousness, longing for purpose, direction, and truth. Which one wins depends on which one you feed. So I invite you now, take a pause, breathe deeply, look inward, observe your impulses without judgment. Ask yourself, who's in control right now, me or my desire? That single question is the beginning of liberation. And if you want to understand the hidden forces that drive you, if you want to rebuild your mind and reclaim power over your own energy, then you're in the right place. Here, on the Unshakable Mind channel, we explore the labyrinth of the human psyche and turn the unconscious into consciousness. Join me on this inner journey. And before we move forward, I want you to write a simple but powerful sentence in the comments. I choose to take back control of my mind. Write it as a commitment to your own transformation, because the first step to conquering the unconscious is to recognize it. And the next one we'll take together. The truth is brutal. Do you really Control your mind, or does it control you? You want to build something meaningful, but you click. You want to grow, but you scroll. You want to be present, yet you lose yourself in images that don't touch your soul. This isn't simple distraction, it's control, silent, sophisticated, and almost spiritual in its depth. Most men live their entire lives without ever realizing their minds have been stolen. They think they chose to watch that video, open that app, follow that impulse. But no, they simply obeyed an invisible command planted long before their conscious decision. Desire took the wheel, and the man, believing he was in control, became a passenger within himself. Here lies one of the darkest secrets of our time. The system doesn't want to destroy you, it wants to distract you, because a destroyed man can rebuild himself. But a distracted man, he never wakes up. The distracted man doesn't lead. He doesn't create, question, or transform. He only reacts. And the modern world was designed precisely for that, to keep the masculine mind in a constant state of reaction. We live in an era where the greatest battlefield is the male psyche, and the most lethal weapon ever forged against it is sex. Not the physical act, but the symbol, the image, the suggestion. It has been refined, disguised, and integrated so deeply that it became a natural part of the mental landscape. Sex no longer lives in bedrooms. It lives on screens, in ads, in feeds, in every click. It's been turned into bait, into stimulus, into strategy. With every scroll, every visual cue, it offers instant pleasure in exchange for what's most precious to a man, his attention, and the price is steep. You give away minutes that will never return, energy that doesn't replenish, fragments of your soul that dissolve without you even noticing. The worst part, you think you're just killing time. But time is what shapes a man, and when you give it to something that doesn't nourish you, you are silently surrendering your own destiny. Every click shrinks your focus. Every scroll dilutes your presence. Your inner strength is drained by something that never feeds you. It only stimulates, agitates, and fragments you. And when the next day comes, a fog lingers around your mind, a fatigue without a clear cause, a quiet shame that never quite fades, and a hollow emptiness that follows you like a shadow. That's not personal weakness. It's psychological engineering. The modern world was built to trigger your desire before you can think, to capture your attention before you can direct it, to awaken your most primitive instincts before your consciousness has a chance to act. And so man becomes an elegant puppet, thinking he's free, while being led by impulses he doesn't understand. It's the unconscious being exploited for profit, the human psyche being manipulated through pleasure. But there is a brief, sacred moment, a single instant where the control can shift hands, a moment of awareness when you see the mechanism at work, and in that moment, even if it lasts only a second, you have a choice. You can choose not to react. You can choose not to click. You can choose to breathe and simply observe the impulse without merging with it. And in that simple act, the chain begins to break. Freedom doesn't come from blind resistance, but from clarity. Because when you see the shadow, it loses the power to control you. The awakened man sees he's being manipulated and consciously chooses not to participate anymore. That's where the rebuilding of your power begins. So if this message resonates with something deep inside you, if you feel this invisible war also lives within your mind, then you're in the right place. This is the beginning of your liberation. Here, on the Unshakable Mind channel, we talk about exactly that. How to reclaim control over your energy, your focus, and your psyche. Subscribe now and dive deeper with me into this journey of self-mastery. And before we move on to the next chapter, write this in the comments. I choose to awaken. It's more than a sentence. It's a declaration of war against your own unconsciousness. Emptiness is not weakness. It's a declaration of power. Because the moment you choose to wake up, the system loses control over you. That's when a man becomes king within himself again. There is a sacred pause between impulse and action, a tiny space where everything changes. In that space, you decide whether you'll be guided by awareness or enslaved by desire. You can keep living with a hijacked mind, reacting to every stimulus like a machine, or you can begin today to pull back the thread of your attention firmly, with discipline, with consciousness. Because as long as desire decides for you, freedom will remain an illusion. Those who rule the world never needed chains or cages. They discovered something far more effective, dopamine, a microscopic molecule powerful enough to bring the strongest men to their knees. Dopamine is the substance your brain releases whenever you feel pleasure, anticipation, or reward. It is natural, necessary, divine, created to move you toward life, challenge, love, and transcendence. It's what drives you to conquer, to evolve, to create meaning. But what happens when this sacred system is hacked? When the very biology meant to free you is used to domesticate you? Today, you don't need to cross deserts to feel achievement. You don't need to face hunger, cold, or danger to feel alive. All it takes is opening an app, sliding your finger, touching an image, and that image, perfectly designed to capture your most primal instincts, triggers a small explosion inside your brain, a chemical spark, a whisper that says, just one more scroll, one more click, and without realizing it, you step into the cycle, the prison without walls but with addiction, the cell without a lock but with repetition, each hypersexualized image, each short video, each instant reward carves a neural pathway deeper and deeper, like a river cutting through rock. The more it flows, the deeper it digs, and the deeper it digs, the harder it becomes to change its course. Over time, that river carries everything away, your vitality, your focus, your depth. You begin to lose taste for the things that truly matter. Long projects bore you. Deep conversations feel heavy. Relationships demand patience you no longer have. You're tired, not from work, but from constant distraction. Dopamine, which should be the fuel of your soul, becomes the poison that corrodes your spirit. You stop finding joy in simple things, the sunrise, the sound of rain, the genuine touch of someone who loves you. Even real victories lose their meaning. The only thing that still feels alive is the next stimulus, and then the next, and the next. That's how the invisible prison is built. You think you're choosing, but you're only reacting. You think you're entertained, but you're being conditioned. Each click is reinforcement, a command teaching your brain to seek pleasure without purpose. And the easier the pleasure, the further you drift from meaning. Modern man has become a hunter of sensations, but a fugitive from silence. Yet it is in silence that the soul speaks. It is in silence that you find yourself. The good news, perhaps the most powerful of all, is that this same brain that was conditioned can be re-educated. These neural paths that once trapped you can be redirected. The energy that enslaved you can be transformed. The same impulse that made you a prisoner can become the engine of your freedom. Everything begins when you observe the impulse without obeying it, when you feel the urge and still choose not to act. At that precise moment, you're reprogramming your brain. You're building new pathways. You're reclaiming the throne of your own mind. And that's what separates the unconscious man from the awakened one. One lives as a slave to his instincts. The other transforms them into power. Dopamine is not the enemy, it's the bridge. You just need to learn how to cross it without losing yourself along the way. If you want to understand how to regain control over your impulses, your focus, and your vital energy, stay here with me on the Unshakable Mind channel. This is where I reveal how to transform a reactive mind into a creative one. And right now, I want you to write in the comments, I choose to master my impulse. Write it as a declaration of awareness, because every man who takes back control over his dopamine also takes back control over his destiny. There's a prison that no one sees, yet almost everyone lives in it. It has no walls, no guards, no locks. It's built from instant pleasures, constant stimuli, and hollow rewards. It's the dopamine prison, the most comfortable cage humanity has ever built for itself. Today, everything around you offers instant pleasure, yet almost nothing offers meaning. It's like drinking salt water. The more you consume, the thirstier you become. But there's a secret that few dare to discover. What has been programmed can be reprogrammed. You can slow down. You can relearn silence. You can rebuild your sensitivity for what is deep, not just for what is easy. But it takes courage, it takes time, and above all, it takes discomfort. In the first days of this journey, you'll feel empty, anxious, restless. Your brain will scream for stimulation, beg for distraction. But what's really happening is a process of purification. Your mind detoxing from an addiction you were never told was an addiction. If you endure it, if you can face the withdrawal from superficiality, something extraordinary begins to emerge. A new mind. A mind that's less reactive, more aware, more powerful. You start realizing that you no longer need stimulation to exist. You feel pleasure simply in the act of being present, and that rare, deeper pleasure becomes the foundation of true inner freedom. The man who frees himself from constant dopamine rediscovers the meaning of action. He no longer moves by impulse but by purpose. He no longer seeks approval but expression. He acts because he is free. But there's a truth that most people are too afraid to face. Your desire may have never truly been yours. It was designed, manufactured, and then sold back to you as something natural. This story began more than a century ago, with a man named Edward Bernays, the nephew of Sigmund Freud. He realized something that would change the world forever, that people don't buy with reason, they buy with desire. And if you can awaken desire, you can control choice. That's how modern advertising was born, and with it, the era of invisible manipulation. Before Bernays, an ad would say, "Our soap cleans better." After Bernays, it said, "This soap makes you desirable." The product stopped being the item. It became the human unconscious. And what's the most vulnerable doorway? To the unconscious. Sexual desire. There is no force more ancient, more primal, more automatic. It's what allowed our ancestors to survive, and today it's what allows corporations to control you. Sex began to sell everything: perfumes, cars, burgers, phones, even social status. Screens became showcases of desire, each one designed to keep your brain in a constant state of light arousal, a never-ending anticipation that never fulfills. It's a cruel and brilliant game. The more you chase pleasure, the further you drift from true satisfaction. But there is a way out. It begins the moment you decide to reclaim control over your desire. The moment you can look at the stimulus and say, "No, I choose to wait. I choose what has meaning." That is the first step toward an unshakable mind, and that's why I invite you to stay here on the Unshakable Mind channel, where we explore the depths of the unconscious, the power of the mind, and the path to inner liberation. Because true transformation begins the day you learn to master what once mastered you. Dopamine is not your enemy, but it must no longer be your master. Dopamine is not the enemy. It's a divine tool, but only when it's used with awareness. Don't let the world decide what you should desire. If this message resonates with you, write in the comments, "I choose to free myself from dopamine," because that choice, even in silence, marks the beginning of your liberation. Many of the images, videos, and stimuli you encounter every day don't affect you because they're physically pleasurable, but because they activate the same dopamine circuit, the same primitive trigger within the animal mind. This mechanism has been refined, amplified, and automated for decades, and now it's everywhere, woven into every corner of your life. An ad that looks harmless, a random video that just happens to appear, a suggested image you never asked for. None of it is accidental. It's behavioral engineering. Every detail is designed to capture your attention, to guide your desires, to redirect your energy without you ever noticing. And without realizing it, you've become part of the system. Your attention, the most valuable resource of the modern world, has become currency. Your unintegrated sexuality, your scattered desire, has become the quickest shortcut for others to steal your energy, your clarity, and ultimately your freedom. They no longer need to sell real pleasure, they sell the promise of pleasure. And you unknowingly pay for it, with your time, your energy, and fragments of your own soul. But here's a truth that few dare to reveal. What seduces you controls you. If your desire is conditioned by images, likes, notifications, instant stimuli, then you no longer desire as a conscious man, but as a programmed machine. You don't choose, you react. And while you react, others are building, leading, creating, dominating. And you, believing you're in control, lose yourself in the shadows of your own mind. But there is a way out, and it begins with recognition. You must see the game, study the rules, understand when and how your desire was hijacked. Only then can you take it back, not to repress it, but to redirect it. Because the same desire that once enslaved you can become the very energy that builds your kingdom. Imagine your mind as a garden. Every image you consume, every video you watch, every word you allow into your consciousness, each one is a seed planted in that soil. The problem is, most of these seeds never bloom into meaning. You keep watering weeds, then wonder why you don't harvest peace, why you don't harvest strength. This isn't just about pornography. It's about empty distractions. And when you try to focus, to build, to love, or simply to live with intensity, nothing grows, because the soil of your mind is depleted, exhausted by impulses that don't nourish. Your potential for creativity, presence, and deliberate action is suffocated. You feel it as exhaustion, restlessness, frustration, an emptiness you can't name, but that follows you day after day. Reconstruction begins when you choose to cleanse the soil, to pull out the weeds and to plant again. This time, seeds that matter. Seeds of focus, seeds of presence, seeds of purpose. Each conscious action, each decision to reject instant gratification is like watering those seeds. And little by little, a new mind begins to emerge. A mind no longer dominated by stimulation, but one that dominates its own impulses. A mind that acts with intention, creates without distraction, and finds pleasure in what truly matters. And you must understand, This isn't easy. The beginning feels uncomfortable, like hunger after months of emotional fast food. Your brain will crave the old pleasures, the easy rewards, the instant relief. But if you endure, if you hold through the withdrawal of superficiality, the real pleasure emerges. A pleasure that doesn't fade, a pleasure that doesn't depend on external stimuli, a deep, grounded pleasure, the unmistakable sign that you're regaining control over your destiny. If this truth resonates within you, write in the comments, "I choose to rise above dopamine." Because awareness is the first rebellion, and rebellion is where freedom begins. Write in the comments, "I choose to plant seeds of power in my mind." Each comment is a conscious vote, a small act of awakening. And remember, subscribe to Mentalidade Inabalável, ring the bell, and walk with me through this deep transformation of the mind. Because the man who understands how desire works, the one who learns to master his attention and energy, becomes the author of his story, not just a character in someone else's script. The modern man's mind has been contaminated, his attention has been hijacked, polluted by quick stimuli and false rewards. And if you're honest with yourself, you can feel the symptoms of this intoxication. You feel anxious when silence surrounds you. You feel bored when nothing stimulates you. You feel an almost compulsive urge to escape whenever you're forced to face yourself. These aren't just fleeting discomforts. They're signs that your mind has been trained to react, not to reflect, to chase, not to understand. The mind that should be your most powerful tool has become a prisoner of programmed desires and temporary pleasures. But here's the truth. Few are brave enough to say, the garden of the mind can be replanted. It all begins with a conscious decision to guard what enters, to filter what you consume, to choose with clarity. You can't cultivate depth if you constantly feed distraction. You can't develop focus if you're drowning in superficiality. The first step is purification, and yes, cleansing is uncomfortable. It confronts old habits, silent addictions, easy pleasures. Pause for a moment and look around. Observe the voices you follow online, the influences, the messages, the emotions they leave in you after 30 minutes of scrolling without purpose. Do you feel stronger or emptier, more awake or more numb? You don't need to follow a monk, but you must stop following demons. Replace what feeds your ego with what awakens your soul. Trade noise for wisdom. Exchange artificial sensuality for inner strength. In the beginning, silence will scream. You'll miss the rush. You'll crave distraction. But understand this, that emptiness is sacred, because where noise once lived, space begins to grow. And within that space, focus is born. Clarity takes root. Purpose starts to blossom. Slowly, the subtle shifts become visible. You listen better. You sleep deeper. You create with more presence. You live with more meaning, not because the world changed, but because you stopped being its victim. A detoxed mind isn't quiet in the sense of emptiness. It's alive, fertile, vibrating with presence. And the man who learns to choose what he cultivates in his own mind becomes the gardener of his reality. The mind is a wild horse. If you don't hold the reins, it will drag you wherever it wants, often straight into the abyss of distraction, impulsivity, and a life that slips away without purpose. But there's an ancient, silent path. It requires no tricks, no force, no magic formulas. It only asks for presence. Presence in the impulse before you act. Presence in what you allow to enter your thoughts. Presence in what you choose to nurture within. That's where a man rediscovers himself, where he reclaims his vital energy, his clarity, his inner power. And remember that every choice, every minute of conscious attention is a seed planted in the garden of your mind. Plant wisely. There's one practice modern men constantly avoid: meditation. In our accelerated world, meditation seems like a waste of time. The dopamine-trained mind whispers, "Sitting still does nothing. You should move, consume, achieve, chase." But that restless movement is the real trap. The inner warrior doesn't grow in chaos. He awakens in silence. To meditate is to train the most weakened muscle of the modern man, inner control, to sit, to breathe, to observe, nothing more. It sounds simple, almost trivial, yet within this simplicity, something profound takes place. You stop reacting automatically and begin to choose consciously. At first, the mind will resist. It will scream, struggle, throw 1,000 thoughts, images and desires at you. It's used to being fed, to being stimulated, to reacting without question. But if you persist, if you sit every day, even for a few minutes, the chaos begins to quiet, and from the depths of your being, something new rises. The observer. The observer is the one who separates impulse from action. He sees desire arise and doesn't bow to it. He's the one who transforms the ordinary man into a conscious warrior. Make no mistake, meditation doesn't mean not thinking. Meditation means seeing your thoughts without being dragged away by them. It's creating space between stimulus and response, and within that space, however small, true freedom is born. Carl Jung once said, "He who looks outside dreams, he who looks inside awakens." That's exactly what meditation is: turning inward, recognizing your shadow, confronting mental addictions, facing the emptiness, and remaining still. It's in discomfort that the warrior grows stronger. Meditation is the dojo of the soul. 5 minutes a day, 5 minutes of silence in a world that screams, 5 minutes of pause for a brain trained to rush, react, and escape. Little by little, you'll start to see the fruits of this practice: less reactivity, more presence, less anxiety, more mastery, and when temptation arises, and it always does, you won't be consumed by it. Because the warrior who trains in silence conquers in action. He's the one guiding your steps, deciding, choosing what deserves your attention and your energy. You wake up, work, consume. But now, inside you, there's an untouchable space. A space of clarity, of presence, of quiet power. No matter how many distractions the world throws your way, you know there's something greater within you, something that can't be manipulated, bought, or stolen. Meditation is the key to reconnect with that inner force. It's the bridge between the distracted man and the conscious man, between impulse and intention. And don't be fooled. The path is simple, but it demands discipline. 5 minutes a day may seem small, but when practiced consistently, day after day, it reshapes your mind, your body, and your life. Then one day a question arises, gentle yet piercing: where am I going? Most men never ask. They drift like ships without a map, without a compass, carried by winds that aren't their own. What drives them isn't purpose. It's escape. Escape from pain, escape from silence, escape from themselves. And the system knows this. It knows that the man without purpose is vulnerable, easily distracted, easily manipulated. So it offers endless noise, fake goals, hollow validation, dopamine dressed as direction. While you chase those quick hits of pleasure, your inner compass rusts. And you don't notice that slowly you're drifting away from yourself. But then, the inevitable moment arrives. The stimulus no longer satisfies, the distraction no longer numbs, and suddenly a whisper surfaces from within, almost inaudible. What am I doing here? That whisper marks the beginning of the true journey. It's uncomfortable. It's frightening, but it's sacred, because the man without purpose is fragile, but the man who discovers his why becomes unshakable. Redefining your purpose isn't about chasing artificial goals or copying someone else's life. It's not about money, status, or external approval. The real purpose hides within you, and finding it demands ruthless honesty. Ask yourself, what truly moves me? What deeply frustrates me? What sets my soul on fire? What would I be willing to sacrifice for, even if no one else understood? What would make you rise from bed every day, even if everything around you crumbles? Don't accept shallow answers. Money is not purpose. External success is not direction. True north lies in something deeper, something that moves you so profoundly it compels you to wake up and act, even in the face of chaos. For some, purpose is about impacting lives, transforming people, inspiring through words or deeds. For others, it is creating something beautiful, building a lasting work, setting an example, or strengthening their own family. The form doesn't matter. What matters is the truth inside you. But there's a crucial detail. Purpose must be visible. Write it down, declare it, remind yourself of it every single day, because the moment temptation arises, and it will always arise, you'll need something stronger than immediate desire. You'll need to look to that internal compass and say, no, today I choose what matters. Today I follow my purpose. A mind free from being enslaved by desire, disciplined, directed, is not driven by impulse alone. It has vision. It has direction. It does not allow itself to be swept away by external chaos. It is sustained by something no one can buy, copy, or manipulate, a purpose discovered within oneself. Carl Jung once said, "The man who does not know himself becomes a slave to the collective." And that is exactly what we see today. Millions follow paths imposed by the outside, by the collective, by algorithms, by images, by desires that are not their own. They are not living. They are reacting, repeating, consuming. But you and the one watching this video, the one who has come this far, you have the chance to break the cycle. You can rise above reaction and begin to act with conscious purpose. Discovering your true north is the only way your mind stops being a hijacked territory and becomes the kingdom of your inner freedom. So I ask you now, if you're ready to reclaim your attention, your direction, your purpose, write in the comments, "I choose to live guided by my purpose." And don't forget, subscribe to the channel Unshakable Mind, activate the bell, and follow every block of this journey. Every reflection, every insight, every step is a step toward reclaiming your mind, your energy, and your power. Because the man who truly knows himself will never be manipulated. He will never be a slave to anything but his own consciousness. The collective has no purpose. It does not create. It does not build. It does not awaken. It only repeats habits, repeats distractions, repeats programmed desires. But the man who finds his inner north, who discovers his true purpose, does not need reminders of what to do. He simply acts with firmness, with presence, with soul. Imagine for a moment a truly free mind. A mind that does not bow to impulses, that is not guided by algorithms, that does not seek external approval. A mind that refuses to be consumed by the noise of the world, but chooses with care and intention what to let in. This is the mind that creates, the mind that builds, the mind that transforms simple presence into silent power. And this strength is built step by step, decision by decision. Do not wait for miracles. Do not wait to wake up one day free from addictions, distractions, or dependencies. Liberation does not happen by accident. It happens by conscious choice. And the first choice is simple, yet profound. You are not your desire. You are the one who observes. Desire, and because of that you can shape it, you can re-educate it, you can redirect it, you can reprogram your dopamine, rebuild your focus, reclaim your clarity. But for that, you must let go. Let go of what is easy, of what is immediate, of what is deceptive. To reach what is essential, you don't need more videos or more stimuli. You need less distraction, more presence, and courage. Courage to face the emptiness that instant pleasure hides. Courage to say no. No to the algorithm. No to your old self. No to the digital prison you unknowingly accept. Because the moment you silence the external noise, the true sound of your soul begins to emerge. And when that sound rises, you will know purpose is no longer a distant idea. It becomes your compass. Here comes the most essential truth. You are not here to be a slave. You are here to be a creator. On the path of consciousness, you are not alone. Here, on the Unshakable Mind channel, we explore this every day. We speak of the man who chooses awareness over compulsion, of the awakening of a free, present, and powerful mind. Every video is a trail. Every reflection is a compass. We are a community of seekers, men and women who refuse to live on autopilot, who reject superficiality, who dare to face their shadows in order to live in the light. If you felt this call, if you recognized yourself in even a part of what was said, do not watch passively. Write in the comments, "I choose to live consciously and build my freedom." And before moving on to the next block, subscribe to the Unshakable Mind channel. Activate the bell and stay on this journey, because every reflection, every insight, every conscious step is a brick in the construction of your inner kingdom. The world offers distractions, but here you learn to forge your mind, your presence, and your purpose. Remember, the man who observes, chooses, and acts with intention will never be manipulated. He transforms impulse into conscious action, distraction into focus, and desire into creative power. And this is the key that changes lives, transforms stories, and turns the ordinary man into a true architect of his own reality. If you have come this far, this video does not need to be just another one you watch and forget. It can be the beginning of something profound, the start of a journey that changes the way you see yourself, your mind, and the world around you. The beginning of a reclamation that few dare to face, reclaiming your attention, reclaiming your energy, reclaiming your purpose. Share this content with those you feel need to hear these words, not out of obligation, but because each insight can spark the awakening of someone stuck in distraction, on autopilot, trapped in the invisible prison that society and technology impose. Watch the other videos. Every block, every reflection, every guided meditation. True transformation is not instant. It is built brick by brick, decision by decision. Subscribe to the Unshakable Mind channel and activate the bell, because this is the space for those who refuse to be manipulated, for those who choose consciousness, for those who decide to act with presence and purpose while the world remains distracted and asleep. Here, we offer no magic formulas, no illusory shortcuts, no empty promises. Here, we offer keys, keys to the mind, keys to attention, keys to desire, keys to inner power. And it is up to you to decide if you are ready to use these keys and open the door. What does opening this door mean? It means assuming you are not your impulse. It means recognizing you are not a product of the collective. It means knowing you do not need to be a slave to external stimuli. It means looking inward, facing your shadow, acknowledging your vices, your patterns, your distractions, and consciously choosing who you want to be. Opening this door is saying no to superficiality and yes to depth. No to automatic consumption and yes to conscious creation. You can start now. Breathe, observe your thoughts, notice your impulses. Choose one action aligned with your energy and purpose, even if small. This seemingly simple act is a powerful signal. You are taking command of your own mind, and each choice like this accumulates. Every conscious decision strengthens your clarity, your presence, and your freedom. Carl Jung said, "He who looks outside dreams, he who looks inside awakens." And awakening is not a single event. It is a continuous practice. It is the courage to face the truth, to question the comfort of distraction, to move toward what truly matters. It is the daily decision to place your mind, your desire, and your attention under your command, transforming every impulse into powerful, conscious action. Am I willing to become the architect of my own mind? Am I ready to rebuild my focus, my purpose, and my freedom? Do I choose today to act with intention instead of reacting to the world? If your answer is yes, write in the comments. I choose to awaken and act with consciousness. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Join the Unshakable Mind community. Here we don't follow ready-made paths. We create inner maps. We build tools of awareness. We develop strategies to awaken the true man who lives within each of us. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for choosing presence. Thank you for choosing action. Awakening can be lonely for some, but for you, who has chosen to walk consciously, it is the beginning of a journey where the power of the mind meets the force of purpose. It is the moment where man becomes truly free, free to create his own reality. And freedom is not given, it is earned. It is earned through discipline, clarity, and courage. It is forged in the silence of the mind, in the choice to stand still when the world pushes noise, in the decision to follow purpose instead of impulse. This journey will challenge you. It will require sacrifice. It will demand honesty and self-confrontation. But it will also reward you in ways nothing else can. A life lived consciously is a life of depth, strength, and meaning. It is a life where distractions lose power, where clarity becomes your compass, and where desire becomes your greatest ally instead of your master. This is the ultimate awakening, to see yourself not as a passenger in life, but as the pilot of your own destiny. So I ask you again, will you step into this path? Will you take the reins of your mind and your life? Will you transform impulse into intention and distraction into focus? If your answer is yes, write now in the comments. I choose to awaken and act with consciousness. And remember, this is not the end. It is the beginning of a journey of reclaiming your attention, your energy, your freedom, your life. The power is within you. The choice is yours. Choose to awaken. Choose to act. Choose to create your own reality, because the man who masters his mind is the man who masters his destiny, and the man who masters his destiny is truly free.